And welcome to No Story Stagnates with me, Ernie Boxall. And it's my pleasure to introduce Lawrence Wingate from America. Lawrence, will you tell everyone who you are, where you are, and what you're doing at the moment?
My name is Lawrence Wingate, U.S. Army retired. I'm the chairman of Wingate Studios here in Charlotte, North Carolina, in the United States. And what we're doing right now, we are building our online Hollywood studios for entrepreneurs and content creators.
Can you just expand on that part of it, Lawrence? You're building your studio. Is that a physical studio or a virtual one?
It's a virtual studio. Right. It's online. The reason why we're doing it that way, because here in America, you know, and also as a retired Army veteran, I've been around the world.
Yes.
And I love other people and cultures. And for me to bring the world together, you know, with a lot of entrepreneurs and creators, we want to put a Hollywood studio online in order to, you know, do partnerships and create things with people around the world.
Yeah,
and tell stories.
Yeah, there's certainly a need for that. I mean, we both must know that with the introduction of Zoom and video presenters, and see, my friend's he owns a recording studio, but everyone's got a recording studio now at home. It's called the computer. So
yes,
he's had to diversify a little bit, but he's gone into video and things like that. And so we'll talk about that later, Lawrence. Okay. First question. Do you know how your mother and father met?
I sure do.
Let's hear it.
Well, my mother is from Georgia.
Yeah.
My father is from South Carolina. During that time in the 20s and 30s, a lot of Black Americans migrated up north.
Right.
To where they ended up in New Jersey together. So they just, at that time, they still didn't know each other.
Right.
And it was this local jukebox club.
Yes.
And my mother, her girlfriends were there. They was all nurses. And my father, you know, his brothers and his friends were all hanging out. Yeah. And they end up at this jukebox together.
Right.
And my father being so tall and my mother being so short, they both stand out.
I bet.
So she saw him, he saw her.
Yeah.
And my mother being who she is, hey, you want to dance? He started dancing on the dance floor. And next thing you know, here me and all my siblings years later.
Yeah, and he picked her up and brought her up to head height and danced with her.
Exactly.
And when you talk about the jukebox clubs, Lawrence, were they coffee plate houses? Or, I mean, in England, we had ice cream parlors that put the jukebox in. What sort of club was it? Just a normal?
It was actually what we consider a bar where you sell alcohol, alcohol and food, and that's about it.
Okay.
You know, and music.
Yeah. Any idea how long they were together before you came along?
Well, I'm the youngest, so had it been, well, my mother was 50 when she had me.
Wow.
So they've been together a long time.
Yeah. The youngest of how many? You're the youngest of?
10.
So that's 10. It, yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah,
how did she have the stamina?
Well, you know, my mother, you know, during that time, you know, it was always, even till now, it's always has been about family. So it's about just having kids, bonding, and doing great things together and creating memories together.
Brilliant.
With the family.
Brilliant. I was going to say, from the years 1 to 10, Lawrence, a story and a lesson that particularly sticks in your mind now.
From 1 to 10, the lessons, it was more of a philosophy. My father had a lot of philosophies that he lived by and wanted the family to live by. And one of the philosophy was, if you want to have a great life, do great things in other people's lives.
Right. And that was drummed into you.
Yes.
Yeah. It's a great message, great story. Was that your father summed up? Was he a man of many words or a few words?
He was a man of many words, but what he said was very impactful.
Right.
Another one of his philosophy is speak with intent. You know, so everything he said had a meaning behind it.
Okay.
So yeah, he spoke a lot, but it always had a meaning. It was always impactful. You know, not just in our lives, but in everybody's lives in the community.
Right. Can you give us just an example of what a 1 to 10-year-old was doing in New Jersey at that time? What would a typical day be?
Well, here in America, a typical day during that time, which would happen around the 70s, you know, hanging out with friends, creating memories, and just way before the internet. So we use our imagination a lot.
Right.
And I as a content creator during that time, I sit alone and just draw comic books. You know, backstories and everything.
Right.
And, you know, just seeing what's going on in the neighborhood and just creating stories behind it. You know, so that's really what I did.
Yeah. Would you say then that you were a people watcher even then?
Yes.
Yeah.
My father and I, we used to take walks, and then we'll sit in the park. And what we'll do is, like I said, everything he did and say had a lesson.
Yeah.
And we used to sit and watch people, and he'll explain to me, okay, you see how close these people are talking? So they're comfortable with each other, so they must know each other.
Right.
You see how these people are separating apart or 3 feet apart? Is that they just either met or they're learning each other. And you learn the mannerisms, you listen to the words that people choose, you know, in order to understand who people are.
At that time, Lawrence, what part did school play in your life? So late 8, 9, 10, 7, 8, 9, 10.
Well, you know, as a person who's very creative, it was hard to learn in school.
Right.
Because school teach you on a linear track. And me as a creative, I look at many different possibilities and things. So I was constantly failing tests, struggling. I was just struggling.
Right.
And it took a while for me to really just figure out, okay, I just had to do enough just to pass. Because a lot of things that they was teaching me was a lot of things I knew personally I would never use.
Yes.
You know, so I pretty much just learned the things I need to know and just try to get through the things I didn't know or wasn't interested in. So that's how I was coming through school.
Did that impact your relationship with teachers at all?
For the ones that were force feeding me information, yes.
Yeah.
Because the thing is, it's like you're giving me this information, but you're not really telling me what to do with it.
Right.
You're saying this is how, you know, society is. This is what you need to learn. Okay, how can I apply this to my life? Instead of telling me I need to learn it, or giving me a lecture, but not showing me how to do it with my hands.
Right.
You know, because I was a hands-on guy.
Okay.
So after 2 minutes of lecture, I'm looking somewhere else.
Yeah. And finally, on this period, you say you're a hands-on guy.
Yes.
Did that come from those first 10 years? Were you in a garage or were you in a shed? Were you making things then?
Actually, it comes from working with my father, who owned a construction company.
Right.
And me, and like I said, he had this knack to look at people's potential. Yeah. And since I was good at, you know, drawing, right? So my first job was working in the construction company at age 5. And what I had to do was go to the client and ask for, hey, sir, ma'am, what type of front porch or patio would you like?
Yeah.
And as they explain it to me, I'm drawing it.
Wow.
And as I draw it, then I say, is this what you like? They're like, yes. And once I finish it, then I pass that on to my next brother who had a business that only builded front porches and patios.
So you were the first Google in that area then, isn't it?
Pretty much.
Yeah,
pretty much.
Yeah. Wonderful, wonderful. So we'll go now into the teenage years, and we'll split it from 11 to 15, 16, and then on to 20. So in those the early teenage years, a story and a lesson.
During that time, that's when hip hop music was pretty much starting to take. And I was a DJ at 12. And my father was the type of person he came home with a flyer, say, hey, there's a DJ competition. And I read it. I said, well, sir, it says you have to be 18. And my father like, so you're good. Apply anyway.
Right.
So I applied. The judges were like, well, no, you have to be 18. And another judge said, well, show me what you can do. So I put a couple of mixes together and I seen their head bobbing.
Yeah.
And they said, okay, you're in the competition.
Great stuff. Great stuff.
So as I gone through the competition, although I beat the guy who actually won, it's because he was 18.
That's it.
He won.
Yeah.
But I won and they created a category for me.
Right. Yes.
So I was able to, I didn't win the prize, but I was able to do other things as a consolation prize.
Absolutely. And I from that, Lawrence, did that give you an ability to talk in front of a live audience?
Well, I always had the ability to do that because on Sundays was family day.
Yeah.
And my father, like I said, he knows people's abilities and potentials.
Yes.
So he'd be like, hey, son, get up there and tell some jokes. So I had to get up in front of the family, not just my immediate family,
that is
also
the worst.
my cousin. Yeah. He said, tell 3 jokes, make us all laugh. So me being the type person I am and being quick thinking,
right?
I said, well, since he made me come up here and do this, I'm going to imitate him of how he talks and how he walks and everything. So when I did that, my mother, my grandmother, my siblings, I mean, everybody bust out laughing.
Yeah.
And my father looked at me like, okay, good job. Good job. Sit down. So being put on that spot constantly forced me to build my confidence in me and what I can do. So it was natural because my sisters, they were brutal. Soon I'll get up there to start bullying before I even said anything. So I figured if I could get through my family, I could talk in front of anybody.
And again, question comes to my mind. You've talked about your mum and your dad a lot. So even up to that age, were there periods where your mum disagreed with something your dad said, or your dad disagreed with something your mum said or did?
Oh, well, my mother disagreed with everything my father said.
Yeah.
And my father never disagreed with my mother.
Right.
My father, again, another philosophy is he's the man of the house when his wife is not home. So yeah, my mom, she will always disagree with him. But what I loved about both of them, they would sit down and talk about their disagreements of why they feel the way they feel and why they disagree and disagree. And it always came to a compromise.
Great. And did that run through the whole family, Lawrence? So if I went to your oldest brother, would he say the same?
Yes.
Right.
Yes, because the thing is, family is everything.
Okay.
You know, yes, you're going to be upset with your siblings, but it's not at the level where you can't talk to them
Right.
and hash things out.
Great.
Yeah.
So later, 18 to 20, Lawrence, where are you then? You're into DJing and all that stuff?
Well, actually, from 18 to 20, I joined the Army when I was 17.
Wow. Okay.
I was 17, straight out of high school. And at 18, I was pretty much traveling around the world.
Yeah.
With the Army and learning other people, see how they live, learning their cultures, you know, trying to learn their language, at least at the minimum, the greetings of the day.
Yes. Yes.
And by doing that, I grew as a person because I wasn't just an American.
Yeah.
Now I have memories that I'm building with other individuals from other countries. Now I'm just a person who lives on this earth among other people.
Yeah.
Yes.
What were the reactions of your mum and dad when you went in? Did they know you were going in the Army?
Yes. Well, my reaction to my mother, me being a baby, she like, no, you're not joining. So, okay, I went to my father and I had the contract in my hand. I didn't have to say anything. He snatched the contract out my hand and he signed the contract because I was 17.
Right.
I had to have a parent's consent. And he said, hey, good luck, son. So, and that's how I got in. And my mom said, okay, fine.
Where did you have to go away from home to do that, or was it close to home?
Yes, I had to go. I lived in Jersey and I had to go to Fort Sill, Oklahoma, for basic training AIT.
Yeah. Did you enjoy the basic?
Oh, I loved it because I was very athletic. So I played, football. I was a wrestler in high school. So come straight out of high school into that, it was all about athletics for me. So
absolutely, yeah. And you say you traveled the world, Lawrence. Your first flight, your first journey away from America, where was it to?
My first journey away from America was to France.
Right.
Yeah, went to France. I think it was Nice, France.
And what were you doing there?
We was actually on a training exercise.
Okay.
And the thing is, we were getting to learn. There was France at the time was doing a lot of stuff with the U.S. Right. So we was having little military training, and instead of learning how to train, since I was in the Army, we learned how to train with the Marines, the Air Force. Now we're learning to train with other forces from other countries.
Yes.
So that was something new they was training. This was in 1985, 86. Yes.
And what sort of terrain were you training in?
Actually, it was an urban terrain.
Okay.
Because normally we're training in a jungle setting, but this was the first time we're training in an urban setting. Okay.
What was that impression? Did you see the big difference in jungle to urban? Obviously there is.
Yes, it's a big difference, but the thing is, now when you in a jungle or when you in the desert, you know who the enemy is.
Yes.
But when you're in an urban terrain, now you're more heightened because now the enemy or civilians could be from all different angles.
Yes.
So you don't know who's who.
Right. Yeah.
You don't know who's who. So
that's very much the idea now. So we're going to 20 to 30, Lawrence, and early 20s, late 20s.
Early 20s, I was been in the military for a couple of years now and garnered some rank, and now I'm starting to really, really understand the main purpose of not just being in the military, but the main purpose of life.
Right.
And how, and by then I had my second child. And now, because my first child had passed away when she was 18 months. So now I have my second child, which is my oldest now.
Yes.
And so now I'm having the fear of, okay, it's not about me now. I have this little ball of joy.
Yeah.
So now I have to thank for her and do for her and do everything for her until she get to the age which she could do for herself.
Yes.
So my whole life way of thinking was, yes, I'm having a good time traveling around the world and doing amazing things. But now I'm doing it for a purpose now more than just me.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I have to lead by example. I have to, now my life is really important now because I want to live a life to where I can watch my child grow up.
Yeah.
So it's many different things that going through that age range that really, really changed my life.
Can you tell us
about?
Yeah, sorry.
And something about being a male, something about having a daughter that's really, really make you see things a lot different.
Yeah. 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 And can we just go back to how you met your wife, or was it your partner?
It was my girlfriend at the time, and that's funny. I was dating somebody else at the time.
Right.
And my daughter's brother was dating my sister. And you know, that was, matter of fact, that was right at the time where I was preparing to go into the military.
Yes.
And my girlfriend at the time didn't want me to go, and she was so against it. So my doorbell rang, and when I opened the door, it was my future daughter's mother, and she was just standing there, and because she was so shy, and she was there to come get her brother because her mother sent her to come get him to bring him home. So as I said, come on in the house, and I went back arguing with my girlfriend.
Yeah.
And she said, look, if you join the military, I'm going to leave you. And she left. And I said, well, I'm going to join anyway. It's a done deal. So when my future daughter's mother seen this, and she said, oh, y'all just broke up? I'm like, yeah, we just broke up. I said, I'm joining the military. She said, oh, okay. And then I left off with the basic training. And when I came back, all I hear is, oh, Evelyn's, she's been talking about it. She's so excited when you came home. I had a big party when I came home, and she gave me some roses. Not the first time I ever received roses, and and
man,
next thing you know, we started talking, and
she laid it on you.
Yeah, she laid it on me.
Yeah.
I mean, she made me feel so special. I couldn't say no. Yeah. I mean, I don't know about you, but I had never ever received any type of flowers.
No, no.
But roses?
So what was your daughter's name? No.
Marilyn.
Marilyn.
The first one.
So,
the one that passed away.
And Now, so mid-20s, late 20s, what were you doing then?
Mid-20s, late 20s, that's when I left New Jersey and I got stationed in DC at the Pentagon. That's when I at the Pentagon.
And your role there?
My role at the time, I was an event planner at that time. And from there, at the time it was Clinton was president at that time. And then from Clinton, then it went on to President Bush, and we used to plan events for the Pentagon, the White House, a lot of the general officers around and stuff as well.
Okay. And that's general planner. What had you done before that made them think that you would make a great general planner?
Well, I used to throw a lot of parties, on the weekend, and it come from my childhood, throwing parties as a DJ.
Yeah.
So threw a lot of parties, and a lot of the officers used to come to my parties, and they said, "Hey, you wanna be an event planner for the military?" I'm like, "Well, sure."
Sure.
And that's how I got into it.
Wow. Yeah.
And it led to a lot of other stuff.
And so, did that mean you had to deal with diplomats and?
Yes.
Yeah. So, and
dealt with a lot of diplomats, dealt with a lot of kings,
Yes.
Queens.
Wow.
Yeah, there were a lot of stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. Do you have the photos, Lawrence?
During that time, you didn't take too many photos.
No.
Because a lot of the, clearances and
Yeah.
and a lot of things people don't want you to see. And,
Man, yeah. Can you imagine now you with a phone and a selfie? Me and the king.
Exactly.
Me and the queen.
Exactly. Exactly.
Man.
Because the one thing about that situation is because, again, you have to learn other people's cultures.
Absolutely.
And sometimes taking pictures with other people can set off an incident that you don't want to set off.
No.
So it's best not to do it anyway.
That's right. Absolutely. And it's as simple as things like a certain hand gesture in one country is derogatory in another country. So yes, I can see where that came in. Yeah.
Yes.
Can you just go through what a typical day would have been for you at that time?
During that time, it's of course, a lot of planning.
Yeah.
Where, at the time I was working for a 3-star general, and he was meeting with a lot of Secretary of Defense. He would meet with the president. He was meeting with a lot of people.
Yes.
So typically what we had to do was, we always had access to his calendar. So if he's going to meet with, let's say, some reporters to ask questions.
Yeah.
All right. So therefore, as an event planner, even though we just didn't plan events, but we also got the answers to the questions that he has to answer.
Right.
So we had to contact the office who had all the answers to the questions.
Yeah.
And we had to coordinate all this stuff, coordinate with our military news folks, coordinate with security, coordinate with whoever's involved. It's a lot of coordination involved with that, to include, booking the room where the meeting's going to take place. If it's a top secret meeting, we had to make sure that people had clearances to get into the room.
Yes.
So we had to work with a lot of the FBI agents, Secret Service, depending on where these individuals coming from. If they was coming from out of country, then we had to, look at country clearances as well, just to get them, just to make sure that everybody says who they are.
Yes.
Get in there. Yes.
Now, I have been listening to a guy called Dan Bongino, who was FBI. He was on the security guard for the presidency. In fact, I think on some occasions he was lead. And he talks about very much briefing each other before the event and going through every detail that could go wrong. You're the same. Yeah.
Yes. Yes, because we all part of the same team.
Yeah.
Like me as an event planner for the military, even the FBI agents have an equivalent.
Yes.
Just like Secret Service has equivalent, just like Homeland Security has equivalent. So we all work together. We all had the same mission. We just was in different agencies.
Yes.
As well.
Yeah.
So everybody has to brief everybody. I had to know, okay, well, if the FBI is going to do this, then my part is to do this. Now, there's a lot of things I wasn't privy to.
Of course, yeah.
But the general coordination, everybody had to know what everybody is. A lot of briefings. I mean,
yes.
All of it, every day, all of it until the event.
But I remember a story that he was telling about how on one detail, they set some posts out to keep the president away from the crowd. But apparently there was a rope that was left, instead of being pushed behind the fence, it was left on this side of the fence. And it was only spotted at the last minute. And somebody was saying, well, yeah, the president could have tripped over that. How would that have looked?
Right.
So it was simple as one piece of rope being left on the wrong side of the fence. Yeah. Detail.
And also you have to look at, again, like I was saying before, you have to think about many different possibilities.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, it's a possibility the president could trip, but also another possibility is there's somebody come through there.
Yeah.
So you have to pretty much put things on lockdown. Until then, yes. You have everything, no matter how big or how small, everything has to be investigated.
Did you take that attitude home with you, Lawrence? Were you detailed at home?
I have always been a detailed person. It was just a lot more hyping than when I got home. Yes.
Yeah, yeah. So your home was tidy, it was clean, your room was clean.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Everything's about details. You know, to the point where you look at everything and everybody and every situation different. It's always calculated.
Okay.
Places where I go, because even at that time, even though I was low on a totem pole in sense of the things I've done, but I was still a member of a well-known national team.
Yes.
So therefore, I mean, just simply going home, I didn't go home the same route every time, because you never know who's following.
Right. Interesting. Interesting. Did that impact the family at all?
Yes, because there's a lot of things I couldn't tell my family. And I was one of the military person. When I travel around or stationed in many different places, I didn't take my family with me.
No.
And I took my family with me because I knew what type of job I was going to do. And I didn't want to have that constantly on my mind.
Right.
Is my family okay?
Yes.
So, a lot of people didn't, the way things set up, a lot of people didn't know if you had family or not. Just for security reasons.
Great, great. So we're into the 30s now, Lawrence. You're 30 to 40. What sort of changes had you made?
During that time, I was all I could think about at that time was, all right, I'm preparing for retirement.
Yeah.
And then, 9/11 hit. And now, okay, am I going to make it? Is this going to be it for me?
Yeah.
Fortunately, I did make it through 9/11. And after 9/11, it was to the point where, looking at life and looking at, okay, what's next for me now? When I saw so much destruction and carnage.
Yes.
Okay, how that's going to affect me, not just personally, but mentally.
Yes.
Because a lot of things I couldn't talk to my family about, that I could only talk to other veterans about that would understand.
Absolutely.
So I had to shut a part of me down to keep from expressing my anger, my frustration to my family.
Yeah.
So part of me I had to really cut off. And I didn't distance myself, but I wasn't quite there mentally with the family, if that makes sense.
Yes, definitely.
Yeah. Yeah.
I have interviewed a guy called Kendall Compton, who he's a fireman now and first responder. But he was talking about being in school when they had televisions and they started to watch the plane hit. And then the second plane hit. And he said, from being curious, he said, what he remembers now is how everybody went silent and just no one said a word. And he said that was part of the journey to him becoming a fireman.
Yeah.
But I know we watched it over here, and it was pretty much that, it was silence. It was, we couldn't believe that this was happening.
9/11 had when you live in a country that you're born and raised in, you have a certain perception of that country, regardless of good things or the bad things. Because there's a lot of things in place to make you feel safe.
Yes.
9/11 exposed a lot of things on good things and exposed a lot of bad things.
Yeah.
with it, which any tragedy would do.
Of course.
And one of the things I always said in my life and the way we were raised to think is that it's always something good come out of tragedy.
Yes.
And yeah, we love our family members, we love our friends, we love our community. But since 9/11, it's more intentful now to really tell people that you love them,
right,
care about them, and
yes,
you're there for them, because you never know when your last day is going to be.
Yeah, that's a very poignant lesson there, Lawrence. So again, how old were you when that happened?
I was in my late, I think early 30s when that happened.
Right.
If I remember correctly.
Okay.
And had a very, very impactful.
Yeah.
It changed me, put it like this. It changed me. You know, I wouldn't say, I have always been an outgoing person, always been very talkative.
Yes.
But like I said, it changed me in the point to where now I live life, but I'm live life even more now than I did.
Yeah.
Instead of withdrawing,
yeah.
I figure, okay, I'll start doing more than what I normally do.
Okay. So into your 40s, Lawrence.
Okay.
So
I retired at age 40.
Wow.
In 2007, I retired at age 40.
Yeah.
And by then I had owned 4 companies and that I was building the entire time I was in the military.
Well, just there, Lawrence, 4 companies.
Yeah, 4 companies. I had a consulting company, I had an event planning company, I had a record label, and a private investigation company.
Got to go into that a little bit. And you all started that from the Army?
All started at, so what I did, I took my experience, all the experience I had, and I created companies behind those companies, those experience. And because I knew from a young age, I never really wanted to work for anybody but myself, since coming from an entrepreneur family.
Yes.
And so I figured, okay, well, I'm in the military. I get paid every 2 weeks, job security. So let me make my mistakes now. I'm building my companies. And since I had a record label, and an event planning company, I knew military people like do 2 things. They like to party and dance.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, but I had a audience where everything I need, because in the military there's always somebody who's has some type of talent, whether it's in music or not, and there's always people who would love to support you and help you out.
Yeah.
So, we were so used to planning things. I came up with a plan of how I want to build these businesses, and I told all my friends, and they all chipped in and jumped in and helped me out. And fortunately, I didn't fail, because 1, I had too many people helping me out.
Right.
And it's been like that today. And we still, all the people that helped me out, we all still friends today, and we all still help each other out with their business, and we all grow, we all successful, and that's the beauty of teamwork.
That was going to be my next question, Lawrence. Do you still meet the people from the Army?
Yes. Yes, I do.
Brilliant.
And we all have the same mission, is to provide not just for our families, but provide for our friends and our community.
Great. Great.
No matter where we at in the U.S.
It's not something you hear all the time.
Right.
No, that's brilliant.
Right.
Brilliant. So, and have you got these businesses now, Lawrence? Or
I currently own 14 now. Well, when I build business, I don't really build it for me anymore. What I do is I build it for, friends, who have either lost their jobs or tired of working at their jobs.
Yes.
And want to be able to control their own destiny. So I typically would have a business sitting on the shelf. And and I say, okay, well, I used to call them opportunity business.
Yeah.
So whenever the opportunity arises is when I launch it. So if I have a friend who has a lot of experience but don't know exactly what they want to do, I said, okay, well, I have a consulting company sitting on the shelf.
Yes.
I launch it, you run it, and then I teach them how to run it based on their experience. Yeah. So if you call yourself a consultant, you're not locking yourself in to one thing, because most military people do at the minimum eight different things.
Yes. Yeah. And I was going to say, it sounds as if from that you took your ability to judge character.
Yes.
To the opportunity.
Yes.
Yeah.
And which I learned from my father.
Yes.
look at people's potential.
Yeah.
You know, having a college degree or a certification is one thing, but once I see that you have the work ethics and the will to want to succeed, whether you know what you're doing or not.
Right.
I could teach you everything else, but I can't teach you to get up in the morning.
Right. Brilliant.
Can't teach you that.
No. Yeah. Are you passing that lesson on to your children?
Yes. Majority of my children have their own business, and now we're working on the grandchildren now.
You'll keep that legacy going, Lawrence.
Yes, because the thing is that, you know, it's nothing more, how could I put it, nothing more worthwhile and it brings you joy than able to control your destiny.
Right. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And provide for yourself and your family. So
no, you're talking to a man who's still looking for that. So do we go into your 50s, Lawrence? Are you into your 50s?
Yeah, I'm 54.
Okay, let's go into what's happened over the last 4 or 5 years.
Well, the last 4 or 5 years, I have been, a lot of things I'm doing now, I planned 5 to 7 years ago.
Right.
So I was preparing the last 5 years where to build my legacy. See, and as an entrepreneur, there's 3 different phases that an entrepreneur goes through. There's the learning phase, there's the giving phase, and there's the legacy phase.
Right.
And right now I'm in my legacy phase now.
Yes.
And so I'm building an online Hollywood studios to where a lot of creators and a lot of content creators and a lot of entrepreneurs who are stuck in their careers are able to join our platform.
Yes.
And build their careers either in front of the camera or behind the camera and create the things that they love to do.
Yeah.
Because it's, you know, you're never truly free with yourself unless you're able to make a decision.
Yeah.
And then put that decision in action.
Action, that's the thing, isn't it? Action.
Yeah.
Now I can understand you putting people in front of the camera.
Yeah.
How do you put people behind the camera? What skills do they learn for being behind the camera?
Well, there are a lot of people who have great imagination. So those people either become writers, producers, or in some cases, connectors, where they may not know anything about entertainment, but they know a lot of people who do.
Right.
So what we do is we hire them just to connect us to other people. You know, so everybody has at least one talent.
Of course.
And so what we do is, again, we go back and look at their potential.
Yeah.
You know, or potential and what they want to do.
Yeah.
You know, and what they're passionate about. And then we build upon that. So there are some things I may not think of until I meet the individual, and then we may create it.
Yeah.
You know, there are a lot of people who have ideas, but aren't good at putting their ideas in action. So what we do is we partner them up with somebody who like to put things in action.
Yeah.
So therefore, it goes back to that team mentality.
Great.
You know, I know a lot of things, but there's a lot of things I don't know.
Yeah.
So I surround myself with people who know those things. It doesn't make me less of a person.
No,
But
no.
the thing is, it makes me more collaborative.
Yes.
You know, and you know, I talk a lot, but I also listen a lot. You know, that's how I learn.
Two things from that. First of all, Lawrence, are you taking this into the community? Do you go into schools and go into colleges? Are they receptive to it?
Yes, we had me and another friend of mine had created a program to where it's an entrepreneur program for the junior high school level. And where one of the things we do, since a lot of kids like cell phones, so what we did, we built a program around that, where 5 students in a class with, okay, look up the patents on cell phones.
Right.
Another set of students will look at, okay, well, they're good at drawing, so they're going to draw all collaborative, come up with an idea of how the cell phone is going to look.
Right.
Another set is, okay, once everything's get done, how are we going to create a commercial behind this? How are we going to write that? Another set is going to be, okay, we got all this information. How are we going to go from the drawing to market?
Yes.
So now with all those students doing many different things, but they're all working on that one project, and the project they are interested in because they all have cell phones.
That's it.
You know.
Yeah.
So not only they just using the cell phone just to text and play games and talk with people, now they literally understand what they have in their hands.
Great.
And how it was created and where it came from and how many different countries are involved in making this one product.
Yes.
So we teach them all those things as well.
It reminds me, I'm listening regularly to a Navy SEAL who's been talking about his operations, and he talks to other veterans going back to Vietnam and about their operations and so forth. And the one thing that comes out is that whenever they had an operation to go on, it wasn't his role as leader to say, this is what we're going to do. It was his role to ask the team how they thought, because he said, once they've got skin in the plan, they're likely to push it through more easily or better than if he just told them what to do. And that sounds like very much what you're doing.
Right, because you can't be a team when you're dictating everything.
Right.
So a team is all about collaboration. And the thing is, as a leader, you have to know that you're not always right.
Right.
You know, so in order to make a better decision, you have to get a consensus from your team.
Yes.
And rather in the military or in the business, you know, it's the same thing. So again, like I said earlier, I know a lot of things, but a lot of things I don't know.
Sure.
You know, like if I have a team right now and we come to the UK and one of my team members from the UK, I want to ask a lot of questions of that team member.
Absolutely.
Because that's something he or she knows.
Yes.
So it's like that no matter where you go. That's why having a diverse team from a diverse background makes you not just a better leader, but a better team.
Great.
Because now you have more information at your disposal.
Well, I could talk for ages, Lawrence, obviously with your experience, but I am a traveller. I have been all my life. And there are certain memories that stick in the mind from other countries. Have you got a couple of stories from abroad, from other countries that, you know, set aside? I was actually in the war, the Yom Kippur War, without being a Jew or without being any. I actually followed my girlfriend out there.
Okay. Is
there anything like that that's happened to you abroad that's, you know, set in your mind? Good or bad?
Well, I think the one thing that's set in my mind is here in the US, okay, I'm a black man.
Yeah.
But when I'm in other countries, I'm American.
Right.
So rather the US does something good or bad, I as American in another country would have to carry the weight of that.
Yes.
And that's a total different dynamic of just being individual,
right,
to now carrying a nation on your shoulders. So
and,
yeah, so that's something, you know, it's a tricky situation, but
yeah,
it's something that most people have a hard time learning or knowing about if you never left the country that you're born in.
Of course, yeah. And with your love in music, what country would you go to now again for their music?
UK.
Oh, really?
Yeah, UK and South Africa.
I was going to say, yeah.
I think for the UK, it's because when they had what they call the British invasion here.
Yes.
With the Beatles and a lot of the other, other artists that came through here, totally blew my mind.
Right.
But what I learned about music from the UK was really no different from the music here, because it was telling a story.
Yeah.
Of struggles, story of what was going on, story of liberation.
Yeah.
Many different things, and that kind of what helped me to really latch on to your culture, because I've always been interested in culture more than the language, but the history. So from the music led to the television shows to reaching out to British people and learning from them. And it's the same way with South Africa, where with South Africa, their music is all about their culture and their life. And to see how many different types of music and language.
Yes.
And that's a beautiful thing. And like I said, it helps me grow as an individual, learning those countries. But the UK and South Africa,
wonderful. Well, you must come here again.
Oh, I will.
Get it? Yeah. It's been a real pleasure interviewing.
Oh, same here,
Lawrence. Don't dash off when we finish. But again, before we go, how can people get in touch with you or learn more about you online?
Well, they can get in touch with me on Instagram at Wingate_studios, or on my business page on Facebook called The Network Show.
Network
Show. At there, the Network Show. Or they could just look me up, Lawrence Wingate. You'll see a picture of me in my military uniform, and just connect with me.
Yeah, that's beautiful, Lawrence. It's been a real pleasure to listen to you. And
thank you.
This will be up on YouTube soon.